Thank you, Mr. Abhishek Danodia, for giving a nice introductions and introducing me for today's lecture in the special distance learning program 1 week course and the last lecture on Earth observations in soil carbon assessment. Actually, this course was designed by Dr. N.R. Patel and Mr. Abhishek Danodia to meet the to deliver on the various aspects of carbon pool assessment. IRS from very beginning it has done a marvelous work in vegetation, soil, and atmospheric carbon assessment, modeling, and in this series, I will be delivering on soil carbon observation or mapping using remote sensing data, as well as soil carbon stock assessment using remote sensing and GIS. So I will share my experiences as we have done the national project on soil carbon assessment for India, and various applications for soil carbon mapping. So I will deliver on this topic. Okay, just see this slide. I am talking about the soil. Soil in the agriculture, you know, the soil is the basic natural resource over that our survival depends. Not our survival, but all the survivals of animals and microbes, and it is a vital part of your biogeochemical cycle. And in soil, in this slide, two profile is exhibited here, that this soil having vegetation, having coniferous vegetation, and here the broadleaf forest in the temperate climate, and it is a somewhat it is in subtropical climate, or in you can say the dry climate. And here you see the carbon present. These soils are appearing brownish or light brownish color because they are deficient in soil carbon, even they are under the forest cover. But here you see the soils are very dark on the surface layer, and subsurface layer is slightly light. So here you can say a lot of organic carbon has been deposited in that one. So we want to estimate that is how much soil carbon present in our soil, in agriculture soil or forest soils or any other soil type. I just I just inform you that our eminent scientist Dr. Ratan Lal, who is working from decades on soil carbon climate change, and he says that soils of the world must be part of any agenda to address climate change, as well as food and water security. So he says that his soil is a prime importance, and among the soil, how soil carbon is more important to address the issue of climate change, and it is also important to address our food and water security. I think he says that earlier we used to think that soil is a just medium for plant growth, but today I can say the soil is a important part, or it is a main engine of our soil ecosystem services. All the services, either you need a clean air, clean water, or nutritious food, all depends on your healthy soils. And when we call healthy soils, means I am talking about the soils rich in organic carbon. So that's why soil organic carbon helps us to maintain soil health and productivity, and it provides a primary source of nutrients for plants. It's useful for aggregation of particles, soil particles. It helps in developing soil structure. It increases water storage capacity of soil and provides a habitat to soil biota. So all soil microorganisms lives because of soil carbon. Soil carbon is food for them. If soil is deficient in carbon, their microbial populations will be minimal or less, and that's why our nutrient cycles will be severely affected, and that nutrients to the plants will be affected, and therefore our food, grains, or whatever we are taking, food and other products from the soil or agriculture, that will be of poor quality. If just giving you a brief, that is how soil is our composed. As you are aware already, that if we see the percentage wise composition of soil, 45% is composed of mineral matter. Here mineral matter means sand, silt, and clay content. So sand, silt, clay are the mineral content present into the soils, and they are nearly 45%. 5% material is organic material, less than 5%, and air and water both comprises or composed of 50%, 25%. As we know, the soils have a lot of pore space, and in the pores, air are filled and water are also filled. So water present in various forms in the soils, as a hygroscopic water, as well as in the filled capacity water is available. So these are the, so you can say we are this 5% organic matter is very vital and very important to decide the behavior of the soils. This SOC component affects the physical, chemical, and biological properties of a soil ecosystem. So it is important or detrimental for governing the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soils. When I am talking the physical properties, for example, bulk density of the soils, or how soils is soft, it depends on the soil organic matter content. And chemical properties, as you know, the soil carbon or soil organic matter, after decomposition, it releases lot of nutrients which is absorbed by the plants. And chemical properties, organic matter is also important for developing the buffering capacity of soil. So any we are putting fertilizer or anything, that also it makes the buffering, so that pH doesn't change more easily. And biological property means organic carbon is food for the microbes. So biological properties are microbial populations will depend on your organic carbon. That's why it is very important. If we see organic matter, and there is two terms are used: soil organic matter and soil organic carbon. So soil organic carbon is the carbon present in organic form. It is, if we estimate in general soil organic carbon by laboratory method, for example, Walkley and Black method, and also by CHN analyzer and TOC analyzer. These three instrumentations are used for estimating soil organic carbon. If soil organic carbon multiplied with 1.724 factors, then it is converted into the soil organic matter. If we see that is the soil organic material, if you see what is the composition of if we see the composition of organic matter, then we find that is less than 10% is fresh residue, less than 5% is the living organism, microbes, 33 to 50% is a very stabilized organic matter which is present in the form of humus, and nearly 33 to 50% is the decomposed organic matter, which is you can say very active organic carbon. So this 33 to 50%, it goes after years of decomposition, it may converted into the humus, and humus we can say a very stable organic carbon. So organic carbon present in humus is not getting easily decomposed. So these compositions in general present into the soil. If we see the global carbon cycle, how carbon present into the soil and how it is the cycle is governed, you see our vegetation pool of the carbon present into the vegetation either in forest or crop or any other vegetations or green mass present on the earth surface, they have total 560 petagram of the carbon. 1 petagram equal to 10 to the power 15 gram. So vegetation pool 560 petagram, atmospheric pool, atmosphere contain 750 petagram of carbon, where the soil contains up to 1 meter depth 1500 petagrams. So you can see soil is just having largest pool among earth surface, among the various component of earth surface. So if you see, soil have 3 times more than your vegetation pool. So soil can play a greater role in climate change regulations or CO2 contribution into the atmosphere. This soil carbon is also playing an important role. And if your soil carbon is exposed or decomposed, then this soil carbon will be converted into CO2, carbon dioxide, and your atmosphere becomes high concentration of CO2, and then you will witness more climate change in impacts in terms of temperature increase and erratic distribution of rainfall. Therefore, this soil carbon need to be assessed, either what is the stock is present. So I will discuss how we can estimate the stock, and also I will discuss how remote sensing data can help you to estimate the soil organic carbon. Although the largest soil, highest amount of carbon are stored or present into the ocean, which is the you can say that deep ocean, it is around 30,000 petagram, 37,000 petagram of carbon. It is the largest one because we know that is ocean also plays an important role in carbon cycle. From the soil, if you see, the soil respiration takes place. So this is contributing in the carbon cycle. Just I am showing that is how the processes affecting the soil organic carbon. Means as I told you, the carbon added in above ground residue and root biomass. Soil carbon is added, and this carbon may get oxidized and converted into the carbon dioxide. This is what organic matter added into the soil by humidification process. Only 2 to 20% is added through in the soil as a soil organic carbon pool, and our soil organic carbon pool is around 1500 petagram. When erosion take place, then soil top of the soils get eroded, or we know that is the highest amount of organic carbon present into the top soil layer. And if erosion take place, then there will be particle detachment, and this soil get translocation and distributed over the landscape. And in this form, because of erosion and translocation of particles, soil particles from one place to another place, this organic matter get exposed to the atmosphere, and because of that, it is decomposed as a carbon dioxide gas. So it has been estimated that nearly 1 gigatons of carbon every year it is released to the atmosphere, and another that is around 0.5 gigatons of the carbon removed from the these soils through erosions get deposited into aquatic ecosystem, or you can say it deposited into the lake and ocean, lake, river and ocean, and because of that 0.5 gigatons are released to the atmosphere, CO2. So you see, erosion is the prime culprit or prime process which release the organic carbon is stored into the surface soils into the atmosphere when it is through decomposition organic carbon, soil organic carbon decompositions as form of CO2. And this soil carbon also get leached down, because when rainfalls occurs and high water tables are there, and this carbon go leaching and it goes to the groundwater table and aquatic system, and that is also from there it get anaerobic conditions also, it get released as a CO2. That is the process affecting soil organic carbon dynamics. You see, that is whatever the organic matter or organic residue are added to the soil, this some of the residues after decompositions get oxidized and released to the atmosphere CO2. And by humidification process, 2 to 20% of carbon added into as a soil organic carbon. What are the residue are added onto the soil? All residue doesn't converted as a soil organic carbon. Only 2 to 20% are added to the soil. And as I told that soil organic carbon pool is 1500 petagram, the largest pool on the Earth's surface. And this organic carbon pool may be released as a CO2 into the atmosphere. And major cause of release of this CO2 is soil erosion process. By particle detachment, in erosion, top soils get removed particles get detached from there, and along with that soil carbon is also detached, and this soil carbon is translocated and over the landscape or distributed over the region. And it has been estimated that nearly 1 gigatons of carbon every year is released as a CO2 into the atmosphere. And through erosion, a lot of soil and carbon get removed from the top soils and get deposited into the river system or lake, you can say the aquatic ecosystem. And by this process, nearly 0.5 gigatons of carbon is exposed, and they get released to the atmosphere as a form of carbon dioxide. So erosion is a major land degradation process which is affecting the release of soil carbon in the atmosphere by its oxidation process in form of carbon dioxide gas. And some of the carbon is leached down and reaches to the groundwater table also, and due to anaerobic reactions, CO2 is also released to the atmosphere. So our soil carbon pool, what is stored in the soil, this should not be released to the atmosphere, otherwise it will reduce the productivity of your soils, fertility of soils, as well as it will contribute in increase of carbon dioxide gas concentration into the atmosphere. This you can see more in details in the cited paper below that. Now I come to the how soil carbon we can estimate using remote sensing GIS system, or you can say using geospatial technology. You know, today geospatial technology are being used to map the soil properties. Earlier, the traditional method for estimating soil carbon is a very laborious and time consuming, and they are very expensive also, and we need to have lot of soil sampling. So later on, by advancement of the remote sensing and GIS technology, later in 1990s, predictive soil mapping techniques have been introduced, and we are working on how we can predict soil carbon present into the soil. So today, SOC is being determined by visual and infrared wavelength regions of multispectral or hyperspectral imaging satellite. If you see, that is satellites currently, the most important or most freely available remote sensing data present are Landsat and Sentinel-2. These two multispectral satellite data are providing free access to the user, although the Spot is the French satellite which data you need to purchase. But these two Landsat and Sentinel data, which here in Landsat you are having 8 spectral band and 7 spectral bands are read in the visual wavelength region, visual and infrared regions, and this provides satellite data in every 16 days with swath of 185 kilometer. And it is a Landsat belongs to USA, and it is freely providing satellite data you can download from your internet. Sentinel-2 data, which is the recently available remote sensing data, which is providing you satellite data every 5 days. Every 5 days, and they are having 13 spectral bands, 9 spectral visual near infrared and 3 in short wave infrared, with a spatial resolution of 10 meter. Some bands having 20 meters, and thermal bands are having 60 meter spatial resolutions. But visual near infrared wavelength regions, they are having 10 meter resolution, which is a very good resolutions which is available today. And your data is also, you are getting weekly data. That's why this Sentinel data becomes a very important satellite data for mapping soil properties, because now we are getting any time of satellite data, and for in general for soil properties or soil studies we need satellite data when there is no vegetation on the surface, no crop get harvested, another. Landsat and Sentinel-2 data, which is freely available to the users, and they are providing a very good multispectral satellite data for observing our Earth's surface features. And as we know that for soil studies we need a satellite data when there is no vegetation cover. So certainly if permanently vegetated covers, forest and other things, we cannot get the bare surface. But in agriculture and other area, when we get the bare surface, then during that time we can take the remote sensing data and can use for mapping of soil properties. We know that is the Sentinel data, it is providing every week of every 5 days interval data is available, whereas the Landsat data is 16 days available. And Landsat providing 8 spectral band and 1 in panchromatic mode data with 30 meter resolution, whereas Sentinel is providing you 13 spectral band, 9 in visual near infrared and 3 in short wave infrared. And it is a very good data because it providing 10 meter spatial resolutions, which is quite good resolutions for mapping of soil properties. If we see just the spectral bands, you can see that is we are having blue, green, red. In red, 3 bands are there: near infrared, NIR band, SWIR band, short wave infrared bands are there. So I told you that is 9 spectral bands are there in this one, and 3 in SWIR bands. So here in Landsat you are having mainly 7 spectral bands which can be used: red, near infrared, and SWIR, short wave infrared 1 and short wave infrared 2, which is can be utilized. If we see the Indian remote sensing satellite data, we are having LIS-3 sensor, which provides you 4 band spectral bands: green band, red band, near infrared, and short wave infrared bands, which is the resolution of 23.5 meter spatial resolution, and short wave infrared providing you 70 meter spatial resolution. And if we see the Indian remote sensing satellite data advanced sensor, that is LIS-4. LIS-4 satellite data provides you 5.8 meter spatial resolution with 5 days repetitivity, but there are only 3 spectral bands are there: band green, red, and infrared. So we have limited limited spectral bands here, but if you go to the your Sentinel satellite data, we have large number of you can say spectral bands which can be utilized for mapping of soil properties. So advantage of remote sensing applications, you can say that it is a non-destructive method to collect the information about the soil properties. It provides a large coverage. You can get a large area to visualize that one. They can provide information about inaccessible area. Sometimes many of the areas are inaccessible, so in that area also soil properties map can be generated, and they provide data that hold information for several attributes, and ability to provide concise data, as well as it reduce your traditional and leverage soil sampling campaigning, and it provides you remote sensing provides you easy method to and very you can say accurate estimations of that one. If we see the remote sensing data, the reflectance characteristics of the bare soil, here it is shown the reflectance characteristics. You can see we know the soil becoming high in organic matter, its reflectance go lower and lower, or reflectance reduced because of light get absorbed. For organic matter studies or soil property studies, we are dependent on the visual and near infrared up to the near infrared reflectance characteristics. So green, red, and near infrared, that band is important for studying the soil organic carbon, and as the carbon content will increase, the reflectance will decrease. But it has been found that it is not, reflectance doesn't decrease only because of organic carbon, because in soil there is a soil moisture is also available. So soil moisture OH groups that also strongly absorb the radiation of in near infrared 1400 and 1900 meter. You can see here the 1900 nanometer, and here is the 14 nanometer. That's why you are getting the high absorbance or low reflectance. So soil reflectance is a very cumulative effect of mineral content, mainly clay content, moisture content, and your organic carbon content. So directly its reflectance is not only directly governed by the organic matter, but it is also governed by the soil water and clay content. But if soils having dry soils in dry period or dry season, if we take the reflectance characteristics, then we can assume that is having the uniform soil moisture. Then we can see mainly the effect of clay content and water and organic matter content. If so, in the similar soil type, if we see the clay contents almost assume the constant, then we can see the effect of, we can analyze the effect of organic matter. So we can correlate this organic matter content present into the soils with the reflectance characteristics. So today this techniques, reflectance data of soil, bare soils, can be used to map soil property, soil organic carbon, only because that is today. Earlier we were not attempting much. There was not much work has been done using remote sensing data for soil carbon mapping. But today, a large number of research papers are coming, or people are studying that is how we can map soil properties using remote sensing data. Only because that is we are having a very good availability of data. Earlier the availability of data was very costly and available on 21 days, but or 16 to 21 days. But today Landsat data every 16 days, central data is available every 5 days, and in coming years is and one more satellite has large fleets of small satellites has been available to the users. Planet CubeSats, these satellites, and in future, which is planned by the various space agencies, that is hyperspectral sensors will be available for studying the soil properties. For example, in MAP, Environmental Mapping and Analysis Program, this is hyperspectral satellite data. In MAP, HISP, IRI, and Prisma satellite. These hyperspectral satellites are today available, and then they can be used for mapping of the soil properties. Another is the airborne hyperspectral imaging is also going to be used for the mapping of soil properties, particularly soil carbon. And today, availability of unmanned air system, or you can say UAV, is also becoming popular among the users for mapping of soil properties, because it is available at low cost, and you can fly at per your convenience or during many times in a year. So today there is a availability of high spatial, spectral, and temporal resolutions. Means we have spatial resolutions from 1 meter, from 5 meter to 30 meter. Spectral bands, you are having 4 spectral band to 10 to 15 multispectral bands, and hyperspectral up to 100 spectral bands. And temporal, you are having weekly data of remote sensing data, which can be give a major breakthrough in mapping of soil organic carbon. And also, why we are talking today more, because in the recent years there is a development of various image processing and GIS softwares and advanced statistical methods, which is helping us in mapping of soil carbon, which was not earlier realized. Earlier these techniques were not much in use or not much developed. Today you have the geostatistical methods, PLSR, partial least square regression analysis, SMLR, stepwise multiple linear regression analysis, SVM, support vector machine, SLR, simple linear regression, ANN, artificial neural network, PSR, penalized spline signal regression methods. So you are having various advanced statistical methods, which is helping us to extract more information from the reflectance properties of the soils to map the soil organic carbon, and availability of large number of satellites, which is available today and will be going to come in very soon, more hyperspectral remote sensing satellite data. If we see what studies shows, so studies shows that is various researchers have used this remote sensing data for mapping of soil organic carbon. You see the Hyperion, Landsat, InMap, Prisma, Sentinel-2, the various satellite data sensors they have used, and they have used the algorithm, various statistical methods, which I showed earlier. PLSR, most commonly used in soil organic carbon mapping, partial least square regression analysis, and soft vector machine. This has been used, but it has been found that R square mapping correlation coefficient with the reflectance characteristics of the soil with the organic carbon content, it was not more than 0.6. So still we are not getting very high correlation coefficient. That's why, because why we are not getting more very good correlation coefficient, because reflectance is not only governed by soil organic carbon, but it is also governed by soil moisture and clay content present into the soils. That's why those, if we take the dry soils, even the clay contents governs the reflectance characteristics. That's why we are getting not more than 6 R square, not more than 0.6. So, but recently Sentinel satellite data has been used for soil organic carbon, and it has been concluded by the researcher that band 4, band 5, band 11, and band 12 are very useful for mapping of soil organic carbon. Among them, they also denoted that spectral indices such as brightness index, brightness index 2 or 1, and global NDVI and soil adjusted transform vegetation index SATVI seems to provide a strong correlations with SOC. So spectral indices derived from the sentinel remote sensing data, those spectral indices, bare soil index, can be used for the mapping of soil organic carbon. When we studied, various researchers have studied, that is the soil organic carbon with airborne platform, means airborne sensor, and they found that is generally they used the PLSR techniques and SMLR or multiple linear regression or partial PLSR, and they also found the R square is they some cases they have get up to 0.89, and it is what generally in the arid region and arid and semi-arid region, where mostly the soils remains very dry, their reflectance characteristics they get very good correlations with the soil organic carbon and reflectance. But others they are getting, that is your up to 0.6, so R square 0.6. So people are working, or researchers are working, how we can improve this R square correlation coefficients with attempting various statistical methods or improving the statistical techniques. So satellite data. So what is the benefit of satellite data, airborne data, and UAVs? If you see the satellite data, the benefit is that it provides free data, and you are but here is the problem, that you are, because of spatial resolution is larger than mixed pixel. Airborne, here it is a medium resolution, but airborne you are having high spatial resolution. But cost is very high, and operational complexity is there. That's why airborne is not is very costly and very complex to analyze. UAV, which is coming 2 days, but there is a problem of using doing the atmospheric and geometric corrections. But you can say it is being used today, but it has also constant, but it can provide you high spatial resolution satellite data, high spatial resolution data. So satellite data is going to be coming in coming years, maybe very useful for mapping of soil carbon. If I show you, that is the remote sensing platform, that is how many papers has been published. So you can see one thing is very clearly is coming, that is PLSR and PLSR and ANN. This is the ANN, artificial neural network, and partial least square regression analysis. These two techniques are largely being used for the mapping of soil organic carbon using reflectance characteristics. If I show that is the one in soil organic carbon bare soil index, it has been being used for soil carbon mapping. That is bare soil index you can generate with red band, red, green spectral band satellite data, which you can get from the Sentinel satellites. So from Sentinel satellites you can generate the bare soil index. You can also generate the NDVI, you know, the band 4 minus band 3 divided by band 4 plus band 3. So NDVI and BSI have been found very useful in mapping of soil organic carbon. You see, this is the one study has been published recently in 2019. You see that is the NDVI and relationship between NDVI and soil organic carbon. As soil organic carbon is increasing, NDVI is also increasing. So you can say the crop growth is performance increases with the increase in soil organic carbon content. And here, if we see with the BSI, bare soil surface index, soil index, then we see as the soil index where it is high index, then low organic carbon. So inversely relationship, that as organic carbon content increases, that is the bare soil index is getting decreased, and the relationship was found around 0.5. So 0.5, 0.6, you can achieve this much of correlation coefficient using multispectral remote sensing data by simple multiple linear regression analysis. We used for mapping soil carbon, we used hyperspectral remote sensing data. and field spectroscopy. And we can here you can see that is the artificial neural network techniques was used for mapping soil carbon using hyperspectral remote sensing data. We used Hyperion data, and we did very regressive, very intensive soil sampling, and in the alluvial plains of Uttar Pradesh, and we get R square up to 0.9. So high correlation coefficients we found. Actually, what you need to do, that is the Hyperion satellite data. We did the atmospheric corrections and we generated the reflectance image. And this reflectance image or reflectance in various spectral bands, we tested which spectral bands is sensitive to organic carbon, and the sensitive spectral bands has been identified, and these sensitive spectral bands were used in mapping organic carbon using artificial neural network, and we get a very high correlation coefficients. For details, you can read this research paper published by our department. We also tested how can we use geostatistical techniques for mapping of soil carbon. So here we used simply resource set list 4 satellite data, that is 5.8 meter resolutions. We also used digital elevation model DEM, and with this data from the DEM we generated the terrain characteristics. Actually, we were working in the hilly terrain. We were assessing how digital elevations or terrain characteristics governs the variability in soil carbon. So we used we derived the primary and secondary terrain attributes, which is, you can say, the slope, terrain wetness index, and several other SPI and other wetness index we have generated from the DEM. From here, we have taken the remote sensing resource set data, and we do the soil samplings, and we correlated this one, soil nutrients and the terrain characteristics. And by correlation and regression with the terrain indices and soil attributes, we established the relationship and use geostatistical methods using kriging and co-kriging to generate a spatial distributed map. So you can see we taken one area, watershed area, where we have done a very regular interval soil sampling. Soil samples were taken. We have taken 130 soil samples in a very small in a area of 50 square kilometer. And this is the digital elevation model. From digital elevation model, we generated the terrain parameter, elevation, slope, profile curvature, plan curvature, and secondary attributes: terrain topographic wetness index, sediment transport index, stream power index, upslope catchment area. So these spectral indices were generated from your digital elevation map. Here the map shows the terrain wetness index, and here it is the slope. So we can see that is the upper area having the higher slope, so it's represented by the red color, and this is having the less slope or 0 to blue color is showing 3 to 5% slope. Here wetness index means we can see the higher wetness, blue color is showing high wetness, and red color is showing low wetness, or because of topographic control. And we use kriging, ordinary kriging, co-kriging, using the terrain attributes, and we prepared the carbon distribution map, total carbon distribution map, and we found that is the co-kriging has improved the prediction of soil carbon by 60%. So co-kriging technique was found very useful in mapping of, using geostatistical techniques for mapping of soil organic carbon. We can also use several we can use the soil carbon models also for predicting the sequestration potential, how in the future the soil will soil carbon will be added into the soils. And we can see here that is There are various carbon models are present today. Century model, Rothsey model, which is very common and very commonly used by various researchers for mapping the soil carbon sequestration potential into the soil. And here we conducted one study, that is the due to the climate change, soil carbon in our soils will increase or decrease, or if it is decrease, then how much it will decrease. So we carried out one study in the mid Himalayas of in Uttarakhand, where we know that we use the climatic data, that is climatic head CM3 scenario data we have downloaded from the internet, and we then down scaling done by SDSM models, and we generated the climatic scenario for the area, and then we use the century model to predict, that is the carbon sequestration potential or carbon potential storage into the soils in 21st century. So here we have taken six soils, and in that every soils we found that is the carbon content is going to decrease in our soils in the Himalayas. You see 2011 and 2019 or 2100, and it is going continuously in decreasing the organic carbon, because this carbon is because of increase in temperature and increase in rainfall. Because of increase in rainfall in the coming years, that is erosion will be more, and because of that one, your the soil will be, top layer will be washed out, and the carbon storage will be minimized, and also this carbon will be exposed to the atmosphere, so it will go to the, because of rise in the temperature, more decomposition will take place, and therefore carbon will be oxidized into the CO2 into the atmosphere. So we found that is the, in various soils in A2 scenario, there is a decrease of 11 to 20% carbon in the mid Himalayan soils. In various, we tested for the six soil types and found that is in some soils 11%, and some soils will witness 19% decrease in organic carbon content in the surface soils. When we studied the B2 scenario, you say where there is a means A2 scenario, we can say it is the present conditions or situations. If the present or CO2 level present into the atmosphere, then this situation, and if CO2 also increase in future, then in that case, what will be the organic carbon sequestration into the soils? And in B2 scenario also we are finding there will be decrease in the organic carbon content, and it will be up to 9 to 16% decrease. So in A2 scenario more decrease is analyzed, but in B2 scenario decrease is less than that one. But in both scenario, they're going to definitely decrease in soil organic carbon potential into the soil. So this was this was done by using the century models. We used the century models, and then we predicted this decrease. And this study was published in the International Journals of Environmental Earth Science, where you can in details you can see that is how century model was used to predicting the soil carbon sequestration. Also, there is one. We also used one study using airborne visible infrared imaging spectrometer. Means now in the coming years or next generation satellite, we are going to have we have used an American sensor, which is the airborne visible infrared imaging spectrometer, known as a IIRS NG, and this is the high spatial resolution hyperspectral airborne sensor. And India, ISRO has, with collaboration with USA, we flight this airborne hyperspectral satellite sensor on the various parts of our country. And we have taken, here I am showing one study from ICRISAT, we conducted in the Hyderabad, and using IIRS NG data collected in that one, and we process the airborne hyperspectral remote sensing data and used PLSR modeling technique. And by using this technique, we predicted, that is, how much soil carbon we can, how much accuracy we can predict soil carbon in the surface soils. We found, that is, predictions from airborne hyperspectral imaging, we found the prediction up to R square 0.68 or up to 0.7. So, and you see the black color, what is showing that these were the vegetated surface. So we did not attempted for this one. Only the fallow area where there was no vegetation, we taking the soil samples and spectral reflectance, and this those were correlated using PLSR techniques, and we found the R square 0.7. So hyperspectral remote sensing is going to play an important role in mapping of soil carbon. Now, this is previously I have discussed with, that is how we can predict or we can map soil carbon in the surface soils or top soils. But now I will discuss 10 minutes regarding the how we can estimate soil carbon stock. As previously in the introduction, I told you that how much carbon is stored in our soil. In agriculture soils or in forest soils, we want to estimate. I told you earlier that globally there is 1500 petagram of soil carbon is stored in global soils. But how much stock present in Indian soils, Indian agriculture soils, Indian forest soils? How much carbon is present? Soil carbon is present. This estimation is very important to study the role of Indian agriculture in climate change studies, or in atmospheric pollution. This soil carbon stock assessment is very important. And we know that internationally, IPCC, Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, they also want every country that to tell them that is how much soil carbon stock present in their soils. We have to report them, or every country is reporting to them, that is our organic carbon content or stock is decreasing or increasing. So that is very important for preparing the global action plan on climate change. So soil carbon, so it comes, that is, first comes, that is how we collect the soil samples and where to collect the soil samples. So first comes, that is where to take the soil samples. Soil sampling decide is where to take soil samples is very important to know. So that you can see, that is it is required to prepare a soil landscape unit map. How we can prepare this map unit? You take climatic map, arid, semi-arid, tropical, all the climatic regions, map of climatic regions. You take map of geomorphology or geology, because carbon storage will depend on your geology and geomorphology. Take the topography map or slope map, because you know the slope, if more, then carbon storage will be less. If slope is less, carbon storage will be more. So you take the slope map, you generate from digital elevation model. You take the land use land cover map, because cropland, forest land, those lands carbon stock will be different. So in general, what we do, we take 4 maps: climate region map, geology or geomorphology map, topography map, or you can say the slope map, land use map. These maps are integrated. or integrated in GIS to prepare soil landscape map. You can prepare the soil landscape map. Then each landscape unit, you take the soil samples from top 0 to 25 centimeter or 0 to 30 centimeter and 0 to 30 to 50 centimeter. So in general, if you want to study 1 meter depth of the soils, then take 0 to 25, 25 to 50 and 50 to 100 centimeter, 3 soil samples in each layer. So this, you see, that is how we take the soil samples. Suppose this is the profiles and this is the top layer, this is the 0 to 25, 25 to 50 and 50 to more than 50 centimeters, so 1 meter depth of soils. So each layer you take the soil samples. So in general, in one map unit, landscape map units, we take 3 samples, and we take 3 samples in that one. And while taking the samples, you take into account that you don't take the crop residues. You take only the soil samples. Where to take the soil samples? That is, you locate your site away from the roads, house, construction sites, or away from the trunk of the tree roots. And so you take a fresh rectangular pit. Never take the old pit. You dig up or take out the fresh pit, because old pits, your observations will be not correct. Then we calculate the soil carbon stock. Soil carbon stock can be estimated. You see, that is QI is equal to stock formula is this one. C is soil organic carbon content. D is bulk density of the soil. E is depth of the soil. And G is coarse fragments of present into the soils. Coarse fragment means stones, gravels, pebbles, because those things does not have any carbon content. So coarse fragments you have to subtract from 1. So soil carbon content in the soil you can estimate in the laboratory, in the soil laboratory, and you get the soil carbon percentage. Bulk density of the soils also can be measured in the laboratory. And E, depth of the soils, which depth you have collected the soil sample, suppose 30 centimeter. So it will be 0. 30, you convert into 30 centimeter into meter. So you give here. So only it is very easy that you need to only collect the soil samples and measure the carbon content and bulk density. In general, bulk density, if you are not measured, then you can take 1.336 or 1.4 as a standard bulk density of the soils. So in general, you need to only know about the which depth you are taking and what is the organic carbon content, and using this formula you can calculate the soil carbon stock. This is, I am showing the how the soil landscape units is prepared. You see, this is the remote sensing data. I prepared first geomorphology map. Geomorphology map is your P means Piedmont and A means alluvial plains. Then I divided based on the topography, and then it was further divided based on the land use land cover, and you will generate your soil landscape unit map. And then this map here, any place you can collect the soil samples, and each units you collect minimum 3 samples, and then you make it average out. So soil landscape unit preparation is important for deciding where to take the soil samples. And now I am showing you, we did one study on the soil carbon stock in forest soils. So this is the forest Indian forest map, where in our project it was there to find out that is the soil carbon stock, how much soil carbon stock present in the Indian forest. So from remote sensing data, we have FSI, Forest Survey of India, has prepared the forest density map. GIS, we have taken the forest density, forest type, land form, and from soil map we have taken the soil depth map. We intersected it into GIS, and we estimated the soil carbon. soil samples in each depth, in each map units, and we prepared the soil carbon density map. And here you see we have taken the soil samples spread over different forest type, and these samples, forest type, landform, and topography, three maps were integrated, and then these sample locations were identified. And then we found that we have taken 592 soil samples in various forest type. It is shown here, and we estimated the soil carbon stock, soil carbon density. What is the difference in soil carbon density and soil carbon stock? If you multiply soil carbon density with your area, then it becomes soil carbon stock. Okay, so here you see the highest soil carbon density was observed in tropical wet evergreen forest, 102 tons per hectare of carbon present, and the lowest soil carbon stock in the forest was found in tropical thorn forest, 24.32 tons per hectare. So in different forest types, we have estimated the soil carbon density, which formula I have shown you earlier, that provides you soil carbon density. But if you multiply the density with the area of the forest, then you will get the soil carbon stock. Here the soil carbon stocks in Indian forest soils, we found that is 0 to 30 centimeter of Indian forest soils have 3.72 teragram teragram of carbon present into the soils, and 0 to 50 centimeter we have estimated 5.25 teragram of carbon, and 0 to 100 centimeter it was estimated 7.66 teragram of carbon. So we found that is the teragram of this much of teragram was estimated based on 592 soil samples collected in the soils. And this paper details you can find out the research paper published by us, our department, in Indian Forestry in 2014. This is the latest figures estimated by estimated in the country. That is the carbon stock present into the soils, because this project we conducted for providing to the Ministry of Environment and Forest by in collaboration with Forest Survey of India, that how much soil carbon stock present in our Indian soils. Then after that we conducted one project between 2008 to 2012, National Soil Carbon Stock Assessment. In entire country, how much soil carbon present in our Indian soil. So entire country assessment. Before that, there was any project has been conducted to estimate the soil carbon stocks. Earlier, based on the soil survey data of 1970s to 1990s, based on those carbon soil carbon estimates, the soil carbon stock was estimated. But here we did in 2010, you can say the base year 2008 to 2010, we did the soil samplings, and based on that we estimated the soil carbon stocks. The soil samples were taken, around 1200 soil samples were collected from throughout the country. But before, how soil samples were identified in the country, it was based on that we considered agroecological regions. There was 20, we divided the country into 20, we taken the map of agroecological regions, which is prepared by ICR. We have taken the major soil types of India. We have taken the land use, major land use, number of land use, 9 type of land use, land cover in India. And these combinations we did, and we found that is 1260 combinations were there. We found 1260 combinations. So it means you need 1200. So actual number of unique combinations existing, 387 were the unique one. And we taken 3 in replications. So on the basis of that, 1161 soil samples were based on that, we estimated the soil carbon stock of the country. Although we have taken nearly 1,200 soil samples, but some soil samples were not considered in that one. It was taken the soil sample based on the stratified random sampling, and this sampling. So as I told that it was based on the your land use, soil topography, and agroecological regions, and we estimated the soil carbon stocks, and this current stock was published in the international journals in 2016, and you can see that is on Geoderma, where we published this latest soil carbon stock assessment of the country. And here you see this is the first map prepared by first map of the India, where it is showing the soil carbon density, how soil carbon density is changing in our country. And here the legend you can see, that is the green color is showing that is 5 to 10 tons per hectare per year. This is the carbon present in that one. Total how much pool was there, we found that is in Indian soils have soil organic carbon of 22.7 petagram, and soil inorganic carbon was having 12.8 petagram total. This is the stock. 22.7 organic carbon and 12.8 petagram inorganic carbon. Forest soils we have estimated for the entire country around 9.3 petagram of the carbon which is present into the forest. And this is the map published, that is the soil inorganic carbon density in India. You see that is the this is showing the purple color, more than 50 tons kilogram, means 50 unit. This one it was present into the that is your dry regions, Gujarat, Kutch area. And here you see the that is the distribution of inorganic carbon, not organic, but inorganic carbon means present into calcium carbonate or magnesium carbonate or carbonate forms present into the soils in that format. So this was the estimates done for the country level in the National Soil Carbon Project conducted by IIRS, ISRO. So at the end, I conclude this one. We can use remote sensing data for mapping of soil carbon, soil organic carbon as a reflectance characteristics using multispectral, hyperspectral remote sensing data. But as I told, the correlation coefficients we are not getting very high, up to 0.6 or 0.7. It is because soil reflectance is not only governed by the carbon content, but governed by the clay content and moisture content also. So you have to take care of those constants. And because today it is a large of advanced statistical methods are available, so you can use those methods in predicting soil carbon with remote sensing data. But soil carbon stock, you need to not only the spectral reflectance, you cannot do that one. For soil carbon stock assessment, you have to take the various thematic layers: geology, geomorphology, land use, land cover, topography, climatic regions, integrate those maps and get that is the unique map units. And on those map units, you take the soil samples of desired depth and calculate the soil carbon density, and then multiply with the area to estimate the soil carbon stock. So some of the studies we have conducted national and local level, we have conducted the remote sensing applications, and I show you. Thank you very much.